Welcome everybody on what is almost a typical weather day. We've had a great May. Mays are always have a special place in my heart on council because of May 2020 when we had COVID and we had two big fires. What a month. But we haven't had any weather like that yet this year. And we've done well so far. We have some distinguished visitors, one of whom is the former mayor, Ernie Bunch, who's here on rodeo business, and he has agreed to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ernie, take over. Public announcements, anything from council?
Mayor Morris, this is Cynthia.
Yes, Cynthia is online. She's out of pocket, and so she has an announcement. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to share with council and the attendees today that the Foothills Caring Corps is pleased to announce their purchase of a new home and headquarters in Cave Creek at 6070 East Cave Creek Road, right next to Lazy Lizard, across the street from local Johnny's. So this space accommodates the growth the Caring Corps is experiencing in providing essential services to seniors. It'll be an increased dedicated space for volunteers, for training new staff, and for expanding the mobility loan closet. So the town of Cave Creek and the surrounding service area that the Caring Corps supports will have continued improvement in services and new programs to meet the needs of our senior population. So we should welcome them heartily to Cave Creek.
We do welcome that. That takes care of number one on my announcements. I had the same. Good job.
Thank you.
We had quite an article in the CAP Currents, which is a magazine that the Central Arizona Project puts out about water issues in Arizona. And there was a huge issue in there on our interconnect project and the benefits it's going to bring. We'll have the capacity to bring in, completely cover our wintertime needs and have a significant amount of water even for our summertime needs. As you probably heard me say before, in the summer in July, we use 75% more water than we do in January, even though there are more people here and more businesses and more activity in January. So if you get a chance, be sure and read that. I might just, if I can find my, here's one paragraph out of there. The new site will begin operating before August of 2026. It is the conclusion of more than 7 years of cooperative work between the agencies. Phoenix is completing pipeline and booster improvements to its distribution system to ensure it can reliably provide the town with up to 1,000 gallons per minute or 1.4 million gallons per day of treated water, meeting about half the town's peak summer demand. During the winter months, the town can run the water system off the interconnect site, allowing for major maintenance and repairs to be completed on the CAP pipeline and treatment plant, something the town could not do before. So you probably heard that before, but it's nice to see we're getting a lot of coverage in our work with the city of Phoenix is being mentioned everywhere. I think it is unique in my experience to see the kind of cooperation. They just treated us wonderfully, and we're working on a number of things with them, even as we speak, in addition to what we've just talked about here. So that is it for public announcements. Town manager report.
Mayor and council, the only announcement I have is that there will be a open house meeting next Wednesday at 4 o'clock here in the council chambers. It's regarding the proposed expansion of parking at Desert Awareness Park. There were some concerns by neighbors that are to the north of the wash about potential impact. So as you recall, this came up during our budget discussion. So we will be having a meeting at 4 o'clock and to solicit feedback and input from residents. Also, earlier that morning, there will also be an on-site visit for the mayor and council to actually see the site and see what impact, if any, will be occurring there. So that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. Call to the public.
Carol Perry.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. What I'm about to say is going to sound hokey. I can't help it. It has to be said. I recently attended the forum that most of you participated in for the candidates running for council for the next session. Something struck me over and over during that time that I just thought had to be said here. Most importantly, I was reminded, I wrote this down so I don't screw this up. I was reminded of, and honestly, I was deeply moved by the fact that I realized how inordinate the sacrifices are that you all make on our behalf all the time. You do so much for us. Now I'm off script. To give all of us who live here the benefit of your time, experience, and knowledge, all of you, with no compensation. Gosh. I've lived in Cave Creek for over 30 years. I've been involved in a number of major town issues and projects, the Film and Art Festival, Spur Cross. I helped when we needed to pass a general plan that was in question. I even got involved in the controversial Walmart need to give us a viable, steady revenue stream. I also served on the very first Fire Commission task force clear back in 2010. But the amount of time and work that you all put into your position as council members is a nearly endless commitment, which most of us, I think, can barely imagine, and for which I think you are very seldom thanked or recognized by those of us who benefit the most. So really, this is just me saying that I realize what you are doing for all of us, your contributions, your accomplishments, and what I know you will continue to accomplish in the future, assuming you're all reelected, and I intend to see that you are. Bob, thank you for your excellent leadership, and know that while I wish you well going forward, you will be missed very much. And a huge thank you to Catherine, who, how did I put this? Knowing all too well what will be expected of you as mayor, and you're still willing to do it. I know you'll be the best mayor we could possibly ask for given our challenges, particularly water and land preservation. As we move forward, your commitment to finding the resources necessary to assure the safety and well-being of our incredible staff also is to be commended. So my heartfelt thanks to each of you, Joe, Catherine, Tom, Cynthia, Bob, for all that your willingness to continue to provide us with your experience, your skills, and most importantly, your passion for keeping Cave Creek the place we love so much and keeping it safe, keeping it perfect. So I, for one, am deeply grateful to each of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No additional speakers.
Okay, now we have a return visit by former mayor Ernie Bunch, presentation by the Cave Creek Rodeo Days Board.
Oh, y'all want me to come up here and talk into the microphone?
Would you like to sit down? You can sit down there, Ernie.
Oh, down here?
Well, it's your choice. You can sit there if you like.
Just remember, Ernie, 3 minutes.
I was looking for the 3-minute thing over here for sure. Okay, so basically, we're here to talk about the Cave Creek Rodeo and let y'all know how we did this year. If you see your screens, I'm sure right in front of you, you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at here, which says Celebrating Our Western Heritage and Community Spirit, Cave Creek Rodeo Days. Second slide would, oh, there we go. There's a number 2. That's our thing. I got one of those on my shirt right here. You can see that. So this year we had a royalty pageant, which happened on Saturday, January 31st at the Holland Center. 70 plus people there. Teen Queen was Braylon Strait, Queen Jaylee Murnaugh, and Junior Queen was Brooke Jones. And they had a good time. They rode their horses around at the rodeo, and you see them carrying flags and all that good stuff. We're doing the part now. We'll get to the part that I'm really, the parade. Everybody loves the parade in town. One of the wonderful things, our Grand Marshal Marshall this year, Grand Marshal Marshall Stein, who didn't actually ride in the parade because he was running around making sure we were all safe, but he did a wonderful job. We had 74 entries, 1,021 participants, 209 horses and 5 donkeys, and we won't talk about who the donkeys were, but they were there. Mutton busting happened on Sunday, March 22nd. Kiwanis was a sponsor for that. We had 80 riders, ages 4 to 7. If you're not familiar with what mutton busting is, it's where the little kids get on sheep and try to hang on. It's really funny. This year we had woolly sheep, which is much easier on the kids than the ones when they're freshly shorn. That's not a lot of really fair for them. 500 plus attendees, which was the most we've ever had to date on that thing. We're going to go through this quick. Cornhole tournament, Saturday, March 21st at Harold's Corral. We had 28 teams, 200 plus attendees. We sold raffle tickets, had a wonderful turnout for that. Another one of the things that we do to support local businesses, have stuff at Harold's. Now let's get down to the stuff that what we're really here about. In my opinion, anyway, is the rodeo itself. All Bulls Night. We had 1,698 total participants. A lot of bulls. Nobody went to the hospital this year. That's a good thing. Friday, March 27th, we were sold out. We had 2,508 people in attendance. Just incredible participation. If we had more seats, we'd probably put more people in them. That'd be a really good thing. Saturday, sold out, 2,496, although, you know, we were more sold out on Friday than we were on Saturday. Sunday, we had 2,492, which is pretty good because a little bit warm and a little bit windy. Wonderful thing. Now, let's get to this other stuff. We had 200 plus different volunteers, 9,270 total tickets sold, 112 different vendors, 62 sponsors, 557 contestants with a payout of $134,937. And that $3 ticket surcharge came to the town based on the changes we made years ago on the council for a total of $22,311, which is the most that we've ever paid the town for on the ticket seats. And in future, we will bring you a very large check. You've actually already seen the check. It's in your account already, but that's okay. We're going to do the thing so we can put it on our website. Charitable giving. Charitable giving. This number is from last year. That was $233,113 given to local charities, and since we have became Cave Creek Rodeo Days, turning from Fiesta Days or Cave Creek Pro Rodeo, whatever it was called before we almost had a disaster. This year will be another $35,000 going, assuming we have board approval, and we certainly have the money to do that. Arena improvements for y'all that were out there this year. You saw on the south end of the arena, there's a brand new one that was put up just prior to the rodeo this year. And let you know that that was done by, for crying out loud, I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning.
Mary Hart.
Mary Hart, thank you. Mary Hart, the Hart family. She was a little bit short, and Cave Creek Rodeo Days pitched in a little bit of money to help that project along to the tune of $100,000. It's in our bylaws that we support and improvements at the rodeo grounds, in case y'all forgot that little part. We'll save the date for next year, March 20th with parade, cornhole tournament, and a dance. March 20th, mutton busting. March 25th, all bulls all night. 26th, 28th, we're celebrating 50 years. And I guess the mayor's asked me to let y'all know who the people sitting behind me in matching shirts are. We'll start on that end. John Drummond, Neil Ness, TK, Tyler Karras, Diane Kennedy. Oh, golly, Kyle somebody, Bloomer, I think. And then me.
Back there.
Huh?
Doing good.
Oh, David's back there, and I guess we're got something to give y'all that David came in with. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna let him carry it because we don't want to talk about it. It weighs more than 10 pounds, so I'm in trouble. We'll come down here to get this thing. We're gonna give y'all. Anybody got a camera?
Yeah.
front of my face is it?
I know, you just took my spot.
Oh, I did?
Behind.
Oh, behind me, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Let everybody see that. If you just run around the room, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, David, run around the room with that.
Start the meeting.
And here, show it to council if you would too, please, David. Ooh, look at that bowl. Thank you, David. Thanks for all you've been a volunteer ever since I remember.
And Mayor, last, I want to say thank you to the town for being a great partner for this thing. We love having the event at Cave Creek Rodeo grounds, and appreciate the fact that y'all let us have a little latitude out there, and appreciate what you've done for us.
Well, I'm going to ask that we give the rodeo committee a round of applause.
Take that man's hand and
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your hard work. In addition to all the work they do during the year to get ready for rodeo, they basically live out there for at least a week. It is, it's like hell week, frankly, for them. So we're just glad we have people like that around to put on events like this for the town. Next is a presentation on requests for information regarding a recent town council approved budget transfer for the Water Ranch Capital Improvement Project.
Okay, so at the last council meeting, I did the quarterly finance report and the quarterly budget transfers. And so we were asked to come back with some information on the transfers that were needed for the Water Ranch office improvements. And so one of the things that we ended up discovering was that there was a coding error in actually the previous fiscal year. So the total project for the multi-year actually did not go over budget, but the transfers are necessary for the current fiscal year, for fiscal year 26, because the amount of the carryovers into fiscal year 26 were more was needed than what was estimated at that point in time. So if you have any questions about any of that, I can help answer those.
Question from council. I don't have any questions, but I have, the issue is not so much the overrun, it's the fact that it came on a consent agenda. I'd like to see anything that comes to council that is over budget be an actual item, and it also come with improvement items. We want to set a cycle of a continuous improvement where if we have a mistake, we're not going to cut anybody's head off, at least I'm not. But what we'd like to do is when we make a mistake, make it not where it's so a judicial process. We're just interested in improving what we do. And so we come up with best practices and bring our projects in. Sometimes projects you can't bring them in, so that's expected. But when it's something that we do that we can improve the process of managing projects, I'd like to see that happen. And I really think that when we're over budget on a project, it deserves attention as to why it happened. Maybe a very good reason. It may be we can find an improvement item. But in the future, I'd like to see that happen where we bring those as a regular item rather than as a consent agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, so noted, and we'll work with staff on doing that in the future.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. No consent agenda tonight. On the general agenda, we have council discussion, possible appointment of 3 directors to serve on the Cahaba Springs Revitalization District Board.
Mayor and Council, the item before you is, as you read, the appointment of 3 directors to serve on the Cahaba Springs Revitalization District Board. The team is here tonight, and if we can have them come up and introduce themselves, they're delighted to be here. I think Bill will also kind of explain a little bit about the revitalization district and how that process is going to work. There's been some questions that we've heard from people concerned potentially about impacts on the town, potentially. And so, but we'll go ahead and do the introductions and then Bill can kind of explain those details.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Manager, Counselor. We are Cave Creek Equities, and we are delighted to be here this afternoon. As you know, the Cahaba Springs project has been out there for quite some time. These are my partners, Dan Duffus and Darren Granger. My name's Buzz Silverman.
Welcome.
And we are Arizona residents, and we also, as of a couple of weeks ago, own property in Cave Creek, which is a requirement for members, for board members to be on the revitalization board. It's not the easiest thing to say. So we have a deep background in the real estate development business. We're very excited to be involved in this project. As I said, it's been a long time coming. And by going on to this revitalization board, it emphasizes our commitment to the project and enables us to handle the responsibilities necessary for the water campus and in all of the related activities for the subdivision. My partner Dan can talk a little more about the water campus and where we're at today. I think you guys will be pleased. And we also brought some graphics. If you want to be bored with some pictures and stuff, we're happy to show them. Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
How do we do this?
Did
we?
Does Brian have them? Okay.
And I do want to say thank you so much for all of the things you guys have done to make Cave Creek such a great place. I mean, for us to be standing here tonight, we look at a lot of things and we choose very carefully. You guys have created a great community. So thanks for all of that effort. Okay, so this is the plat of Cahaba Springs, just to give you a feel for the 230 home sites. There's 44 lots that are already improved. The town has worked with us on testing the water main that's been sitting for quite a while, and the test came out pretty good, surprisingly. And then the other 3 phases are average 2-acre lots, with the large lots in the bottom approximately 20 acres each. 10 lots down in phase 5, the sort of the pinkish color down to the bottom. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, well, so do you want to talk about the water campus? You want me to? Okay, all right. So big topic, getting the water campus built. 2 things about us, and I'll try to be modest, but we do have between us almost 100 years of real estate development experience, and we actually have the money to do this. So, so the first thing we did was engage an engineering firm called NCS, who's also worked for the town of Cave Creek, great engineering firm. And we executed a contract for $500,000 to get an early start on getting the engineering done to build the water campus. Because without the water campus and the booster pumps and the tanks and all of the generators and transformers, all that stuff, the water service isn't available for these 230 lots or the additional residents who I'm sure are keenly interested in our progress. The status of the engineering is that Dan just executed a contract to purchase the electrical parts because they're the longest lead items. Some of them are as much as 20 weeks, 26 weeks. And so we decided we would go ahead and put the money out to get the order done for them now, so that later this summer or early fall, we'll be able to get in the ground with the water campus. It's expected it'll take somewhere between 8 to 10 months to build. I would like to take just 1 minute and thank all of the staff from the town of Cave Creek that have helped us at this point, because it's been an absolute pleasure to get involved with your town and with your staff. So special thanks to Marshall Stein, Adam, Randa, Michelle, Bill. That's you.
Thank you, sir.
Sean. Sean's been just great for the utility information that we've needed. Luke, there we are. Thank you, Luke. And obviously Grady. So we also have brought a proof of our ownership of the property, which we're going to leave with Bill. And I just want to make a general statement for the record, on the record. There's a parcel of property off to the east of this. And there was some talk earlier on about potentially connecting Cahava Springs to the town of Cave Creek to the east of Cahava Springs. We're not doing anything like that. We have no interest in doing anything like that. And for the record, that whole conversation is moot. It's over. So that's the end of that. Okay, we're here
There's
to.
also a conversation about the tract at the very northwest. or
That's it.
northeast
That's
corner.
it. That's it. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. So with that said, I cover everything. I mean, we're here to answer any questions.
Okay, Cynthia, I'll recognize you first since you're remote. Do you have any questions?
No, I think the graphic that was included in our packet was clear on that corner parcel and the potential discussion of connection to other parts of Cave Creek. So I appreciate that clarification.
The others on council, anything, either questions or comments?
I have a question.
Joe, let's start there and.
Okay, well, let Tom start.
Oh.
I understand. I don't know if it involved you gentlemen, but when this was set up, there was open space set aside, Apache Spring. And we're grateful that you have added to the open space of the community. So that's a wonderful addition that comes along with this development.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, doesn't seem to be much water over in Apache Spring, but it's a great asset.
Joe.
This question is for Mr. Silverman. Michigan or Michigan State?
Be careful how you answer.
Yeah.
Go green, go white, or go blue. I love them both. I didn't go to either. I went to Arizona.
Oh, well done.
Whoa,
That's nice.
can we still back out of this deal?
I'm still standing.
Question.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
So you mentioned 230 home sites.
Correct.
Do we have a timeline when we might break ground on any of those? What the future looks like?
Yeah, good question. So we're in the process of setting a meeting up with some of your staff to talk about beginning model home construction while the water campus is being built. So we would like to think model home construction would start for a couple models, obviously with life safety in place and any temporary requirements necessary for this to happen. And all those barricades will be able to disappear. And we're going to do this punch list that we've got from the town somewhere around, what do you think, fall, end of the year?
That's when construction
For the model.
They would start probably at the end of the year, depending on the approval process.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's very aggressive.
Well, we're covering, costs and interest carry and things like that. So we'd love to also add to the residents of the town of Cave Creek as early as possible. Get some great people living in the homes up here. And so we've had really good feedback from our builders. So we are land developers. We are not home builders. At one time, I was actually a home builder, and these guys have been home builders, and we enjoyed that very much, but have moved into land development. So we are working with local builders and names that you would be familiar with.
Can you name them? Who are they?
I can give you a few
Oh.
names, but not specifically. We're not under contract with anyone.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're talking to, generally, we're talking to nationally publicly owned home builders. I personally sold my home building company to Toll Brothers, to Bob Toll of blessed memory. So I kind of like them, pretty great builders. David Weekley's out there, Richmond America's out there.
Could a potential buyer bring their own builder?
Could a potential
Home buyer bring their own builder?
possibly? We haven't like locked
Let-
everything down yet.
Okay.
But if you know somebody, I'll leave a couple extra business cards around.
Thanks.
Any other questions, Mr. Mayor?
Bill's time. Cynthia, anything else?
All good.
Okay, well, I'm sure that the town is very eager. I mean, it's 20, how many years have we been doing this? Luke, 20?
More than 20.
More than 20.
I posted the public hearing notice for the final plat as an intern 20 years ago. So they were at final plat. Preliminary plat was probably 3 years before that, so 25 years is a safe bet.
We're very eager to see that be a success up there. It's been a long time coming. So welcome to Cave Creek. We're glad you're landowners here, and we hope to see good things from you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, if I could put this in context.
That's it.
Sorry. go ahead.
Yeah,
I
we
do
have,
have public
we
comment.
have a call.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead and give your
What you're
presentation.
doing tonight, when this development was started, your predecessors created and authorized the creation of a revitalization district. The legislature authorizes these districts so you, the government, aren't directly responsible and in effect don't incur some of the losses, frankly, that the prior developer incurred. By creating a revitalization district, you allow for the construction of improvements that aren't a burden on the entire community. They will be assessments against property owners in the district. So this is a way that you can make available to the developer public financing, but in a manner that doesn't expose you to liability. In fact, I had one of your counselors ask me, and the resolution that approves this says the town is absolutely not liable at all. But then it allows the developer to undertake all the actions to accomplish the development. You asked about time. The term of the agreement is 7 days after the recording of the agreement, 7 days, 7 years. Then there's 18 months to get after permits are issued for the water facilities, which I think is the water park or water, what'd you call it? The water campus. So one thing we learned from the prior development is that there was not hard dates. We have hard dates. And I couldn't speak more highly about how, contrast to prior occasions, this developer and your staff are working quite well to make everything work. I mean, there were threats of lawsuits 10, 15 years ago where people pointing fingers. There's no pointing fingers here. They're all trying to work together. And they then take the lead. They then incur the debt. They then, not across the entire town, can impose assessments. This board that they're a part of now, that you're authorizing, will then authorize the assessments.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Bill?
No, I would have one general comment. It might be worthwhile for the town to let the folks who live up in that area know what's going on. And there is a great concern over that eastern outlet. And if there's any attempt to do that, it would start World War III one more time.
Mr. Counselor, could I respond? I would like to put some framework about what the
I read your thing. I think it was very good. I'm just saying, just as a proactive measure, somehow or other, the town or you three gentlemen should get something to the residents up in that area to assure them. I mean, I live up in that area. I hear it all the time. And this is a significant hot button issue.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Rhodes, that's exactly why they said tonight, on the plat that is approved and recorded, contemplates access to the east, and they're going to delete the word access.
Perfect, but I
you're
still
right.
think
Well-
it's worthwhile
Yeah.
to go and talk to the neighbors. I mean, that's kind of how we work here in Cave Creek. So, I mean, I think this is a good thing for you guys. And I think it's a good thing for those folks who live in that area to assure them that, you know, you're not going to be poking them in the eye like the previous developer did.
Very, very good point and well taken. And we will definitely do that. In fact, we'll also put it in our prospector publication as well. And make that very clear because I do not want to get people all riled up over no reason. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there's public comment on this.
Bill Basor,
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, thank you again for showing up. My name is Bill Basor. I'm a Cave Creek resident. Tonight, I'm actually addressing you in a capacity you haven't heard for a long time. I am the liaison between West Cave Creek Water LLC and the town. You may recall we negotiated the hauled water agreement. We have an existing agreement that provides us with 45 acre feet of water. And we are extremely interested in this. Now, I thought I might start this by mentioning all the promises that we've been made in the past 20 years about water in the west side, but I only have 3 minutes. So I won't make all those promises known again. We are extremely enthusiastic about this. We have seen what failure looks like, and it's not good. And there are very big concerns from that neighborhood about how this will progress. As you may recall, in the absence of an active developer, it turned into an attractive nuisance and we had to erect those barriers. And fortunately, we didn't all burn down for the third time because of that. We are literally praying for the success of this group. The main thing that I'm asking you is to make sure that West Cave Creek Water and the West Side residents are included in this conversation. We have a symbiotic relationship between the developers, the town, and the residents there. They need us on this water line as quickly as possible because that water in that multiple mile long pipeline will be stale. It will generate trihalomethanes. We are familiar with that problem. We know that the way you fix that is to dump water in the desert if you can't strip those. No one today in Cave Creek wants to see the water company dumping water in the desert. If we can come online quickly and actually be there to help move water through that line, we can be of service to the developer, to the water company, to the town, and we can avoid the waste of a lot of water. So please, as you are able, accelerate the process so that we can begin forming our DWID to build our infrastructure to connect to this to benefit all three of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Bill Sims, at what point when's the right point to actually start the formation of the DWID as far as the next step?
It's already created.
But there has to be an election.
You haven't created it?
No, we could not create it until we could identify a source of water.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And so
we have a DWID agreement. I apologize. You're right. You're right.
The trigger is when the town accepts the line.
Yeah.
And then.
And you have a duty. No, we have agreements with all of your neighbors that they have to join the DWID.
Yes.
That's what we have.
Yeah.
We have a commitment. Once the water's there, then I apologize. The DWID will be created.
Yeah, technically, and I'm sorry to.
No, you're right. He's right.
What the residents could agree to was that they had a desire to participate in the DWID, but because we couldn't give them any definitive information, we couldn't lock them in to participation. But frankly, when you're hauling water and dealing with that, you're very highly motivated. So I don't think we'll have trouble with wood
Well,
formation.
there were, Bill got a number of property owners to sign the commitment to join the DWID. And the condition will be bringing water up to the area. And once that occurs, that will be the trigger.
Essentially all.
Is there still going to be an election or not? To join, do they, or
On his, they would do that.
they would do that, and yeah, and then they'll form a self-taxing district to pay for their share of the improvements. So we won't.
Maybe
affect-
assessments. I don't think it's tax.
Assess, it'll be on the tax bill, won't it?
May I?
Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, the DWID does not have to be contiguous, so there can be donut holes in the DWID. So if there was a particular property that did not want to participate, they would not be forced. If we get to 50%, at that point, the DWID does have the ability to force everyone into the DWID. It does exist under the law to do that. But at the time, and thank God we didn't tell people what the DWID was going to cost 15 years ago when we started talking about it, or 10 years when we really got serious about it, because all those numbers would be very bad today. But the residents are aware, and it is their intent to tax themselves specifically. And as was said before, for the record, we do not want other Cave Creek water customers paying for our system. And we don't want to create a sense that us coming on board is going to increase their cost. In fact, we hope to, by signing, say, 90 users over there, to offset a little bit of the loss of the 200 users in Carefree. So this is part of that symbiotic relationship.
Okay, and so the next trigger is acceptance of the line? Is that, am I accurate there?
I think the trigger is when water gets to your boundary, there's a deadline then to create the DWID, as I remember. Yeah.
At that point, we can create it because we have now an identifiable source of water.
But that shows you how the mutuality of the parties here. We have a developer stepping in to complete what our prior developer started. We have staff working with the developer to make sure it's done right. And we have Bill and his group standing at the ready. They've signed documents to agree to create the DWID, which requires them to fund their own bid for all the reasons Bill described, so that they can, in effect, provide water to their community, water that is also going up to the developers.
Okay, this question would be for Sean then. When were we going to accept that line? You have any kind of projection on that?
Mayor and Council, so at this point, we've done a pressure test on it to prove the integrity of the line, but we're actually not going to accept it until the booster station's live and we can actually run and disinfect the lines. That's the requirement. So we really need the booster station on to actually pressurize it and more so disinfect it. That water has been sitting there for a number of years. We do believe it's non-potable at this point. It's isolated from our distribution system, but we have to get that line flushed out. So what we did with the developers is hydrostatic testing to verify that nothing had dried out, because some piece of this pipeline had been sitting in the ground for 20 years. And then it passed the test very, very successfully with no damages. So we do need to flush it out to make it a potable water line.
Okay, so you're at that point, they would have to have their water campus built and in operation before that happens?
Yeah, actually there's 3 facilities. So there's the first inline booster station at Joy Ranch Road. That actually will also then that can be expanded to serve the DWIB area. The second one is actually partway up the property, which then just boosts it up to the property, which is the on-site reservoir boost site. So effectively, there's 3 components to get to the top of the hill. The first one gets you up to the DWID area, but it sounds like they're trying to build them concurrently for cost savings.
Okay, so we're a year or so away from the next milestone where we have to take action or some action is triggered.
Yeah, but yeah, we have to get the line flushed out to make it a potable water line. It's not currently functioning as a potable water line.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Other questions or comments from council before we make the motion? And okay, Tom, you agreed to make the motion, so.
I have. This is a motion to appoint the 3 directors to serve on the Cahaba Springs Revitalization District Board as specified in the agenda.
Second.
Any comments? Cynthia, oops, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that goes to
Cynthia, go ahead. Any comments, Cynthia?
No additional comments. Thank you.
I think I'm the person that asked the town manager and our lawyer about the liability for the town, and they assured me this is a structural matter. It's not an investment, and that the town has no exposure. It's simply that, and I'll read what it says. Whereas the town is in no way be liable for the payment of any costs of the infrastructure improvements described in the general plan or of any debt or obligations incurred by the district, except to the extent, if any, expressly authorized by separate agreement. So as I say, this is not, if this is structural, it's not an investment on the part of the town.
Okay, any other comments? Who had the second?
I did. So it's been a long time, obviously, like Luke said, like 25 years, and it's finally coming to a head. And it's going to be a great development. These gentlemen here are pros. And I'd also like to say that the west side is finally going to get their water.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 7-0.
Good.
Gentlemen, you're on the board. Good work.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda tonight is the council discussion possible approval of second reading of ordinance number 2026-01, amending the town code, Title 5 Public Works, Chapter 50 Sewers, Chapter 52 Water, Chapter 53 Capacity Charges, related to utility billing updates and other miscellaneous revisions for clarity and consistency. Sherry.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. So we went through this presentation at the last meeting with the first reading of the ordinance. There's no changes proposed. So it's the same as the last one. So if there's something you would like me to get into in more depth, let me know. Otherwise, I was going to try to breeze through this fairly quickly. So we looked at 3 chapters, chapter 50 for sewers, chapter 52 for water, 52 for capacity charges from the perspective of utility billing related. There were some things that were also just miscellaneous clarity and consistency items that included through this. Sean has talked about some operational aspects that he wants to update, but those will be at some point in the future when he's ready to bring those forward. Within the chapter 50 for the sewers, so there's some of the things that we were making consistent with current practice as far as what the finance department and finance director authority is. There are some things in some of the chapters, this one and in water, related to who is actually responsible for the bill. So with the state statute there, it prohibits when it's 4 or fewer units of residential property that we cannot require a property owner to be responsible for a tenant or some other responsible party's bill. That's actually something that was put in place several years ago by the state legislature. And then we also deleted some things that were no longer applicable. The customer deposits, we'll talk about when we get to the water chapter, but we made that consistent. The due dates, we made that consistent with current practice and added changed definition with the non-business days, particularly related to U.S. banking holidays instead of legal holiday, because whether or not a transaction gets processed by a bank is more critical. We updated information to address paperless billing processes. We've been doing paperless billing for quite a few years, long before I came, and I don't think that had been updated in the code previously. And then some modernization of electronic rejected payment types. It talked about NSF checks, but we have electronic payments that we receive, and also changing the section on liens from shall lien into a may lien. Sometimes liening process really isn't worthwhile. You'll incur more costs associated with putting the lien in place than what the amount owed is. Moving on to water. So for some of the clarity in the definition section, added definitions for finance department and finance director, eliminated the part about carefree since all of those accounts have been transferred, and updated the utilities manager title to the utilities director, consistent throughout all of these. And there was some other consistency language, just to make them consistent in the way that they were worded. Added some clarity about the roles between the utility department and the finance department throughout all of this, basically with the utility billing focus in mind. And with the miscellaneous waivers that the town code in practice, it's really in finance that we're handling it. So those miscellaneous waivers related to deposits and late fees and essentially the penalty type charges, change that to say that it's under the control of the finance director instead of the town manager on a regular practice that's not really usually worth his time. I mean, we're talking small dollar amounts. And we typically do that in cases where there was some sort of hardship and the customer has always been current in the past, and we'll waive it and let them know we'll do it this one time on waiving the late fee. Added the authority for the town manager to waive collection of utility service rates, fees, or charges. Don't expect that to happen very often. We do have the water adjustment policy that council has adopted related to leaks. The utilities director authority clarified that it's can't be things that needs to be decided by council, like establishing rates, and the authority for the finance director to decide any utility billing question that might arise. And then the fees that were the dollar amounts that were in the code, eliminating those and just doing a reference to adopted fee schedules.
Can I ask a question before?
Yes.
We did have a letter from a resident about the first item on this page.
I think that was actually the next item, and I was going to refer to that.
Really? Seems
Yes.
like it was the same language. Okay.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
I am planning to address
Okay,
that in the
good.
next
Thank you.
item. Not sure what page we were on. So as Ryan's bringing that up, the processes for activation, transfer, and resumption of account kind of clarified all of those. Whereas activation is really activating a brand new account that has not been connected previously. Transfers is when a property sells and being transferred from one owner to the other, or a new tenant from one tenant to another. And then the resumption of services is the same customer resuming service at that location. Some of these things are similar to what was in the sewer section. Did add language related to payment plans, and I think you went too far. Did I skip a page? Maybe I skipped a page. Okay, I guess I skipped a section when I was trying to find where we were at. The language about stopping other town services when a customer account is delinquent, made that similar to what's in the sewer section. There was some discussions of refunds that really, the better language is reimbursements for developers or applicants for costs that are part of the town. And then the fees for service connections would be actual cost. The procedure, making it consistent with current practice for meter testing. We do not charge the fee until after the meter has been tested, and if it's within plus or minus the 3%, then we charge the customer a fee. The deposit section, So we made that more consistent with what current practice has been. And it's based off of 2 times the average monthly bill for previous months, and it's only on rental customers and non-residential customers. Let's see. The payment plans added some language there for payment plans. We do allow those who have had some struggles and let them make a payment plan where they pay their current bill plus a portion of the past due amount over a set number of months. And clarifying the responsibility of the charges for any party that's furnished water but not billed. Sometimes a property will change hands and someone does not come in and fill out the application and give us their information, but they are still responsible for those amounts. And added that we would send any notice violation certified return receipt, and provisions if it's returned undeliverable. And then on the capacity charges, basically one of the things that we changed here was having the appeals heard by a civil hearing officer, similar to what other sections in the town code do, instead of having to bring that to the town council. So this is the second reading, and then the 30 days would make this effective July 2nd. So this addresses fiscal sustainability with efficiencies in the process, safe and vibrant community with the updates for policies and reviewing town code chapters. So I went through that fairly quickly. We went through it in a lot more detail in the last meeting, and I didn't think you'd want to hear the whole thing all over again the same.
You ready for the Vice Mayor's question?
That's the next item.
Oh, okay, okay. Questions from council?
No.
Nice work.
Yep.
Thank you. Do we need a?
Oh, you ready for motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve ordinance number 2026-01, amending the town code Title 5 Public Works, Chapter 50 Sewers, Chapter 52 Water, and Chapter 53 Capacity Charges.
Second.
You have to write a second. Rusty, your comment.
It needs to be updated, and I appreciate you doing it.
Right. Lots of detailed work, and thank you for all that.
Tremendous amount of work. It's really built, a lot of stuff's built up over the years, and I congratulate you for taking on this nasty task of updating all this stuff. So thank you. Others? Okay, all those in, Cynthia, I'm sorry, I've missed you. Anything to add?
No, it's fine. No comment. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. 6-0.
Yeah.
Joe's gone.
I went to the restroom.
Okay, we're on the next one. Read that one. Council discussion, possible approval of second reading of ordinance number 2026-02, amending the town code Title 3 Administration, Chapter 31 Town Officers, Subchapter Officers, Section 31.25 Manager with proposed changes.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. So this is a very simple, I did not do the PowerPoint presentation on this one. This is adding to the section of the duties of the manager, and I'll read this to you. It's adding waive the collection of any rates, fees, or charges under extenuating circumstances when not prohibited by town code or state or federal laws. We did receive a comment from a citizen, essentially asking about the feeling like this was rather open-ended is essentially what the comment was. I don't know if the citizen had, I don't know that the citizen was here at the last meeting and heard some of the conversation that had happened or watched it online, but there were some things that were discussed in the last meeting as far as some oversight. One of the things that the mayor requested is that in the quarterly reports that I would bring to council any of the fees that had been waived as a result of this. So that would be one of the things that would be oversight. Plus, there, as I had read, when it's prohibited by town code or state or federal laws, then a waiver would not be allowed. So there are some things like the capacity fees, and we no longer have development impact fees. But if at some point we decided that we wanted to have those again, those are statutory type things that we would not be able to waive. There was specific items in the staff report that I had listed that's in town code that either expressly allows waiver or expressly disallows waiver. So all of those would be complied with as well. I would expect from this and the reporting that it really would not be very often at all. It's not something that would happen on a regular basis. It does say that it would be extenuating circumstances, and to define extenuating circumstances, that would be fairly difficult to do to make sure that we captured everything. That's what extenuating circumstances is supposed to encompass, those things that are unusual situations. So, but that oversight of the reporting to council and, you know, making sure that those abuses are not happening, essentially.
Sounds
Any-
good. So there are parameters around
Yes.
policy. Very good.
Is there any other adjective we can add to extenuating that would tighten that somewhat?
Do you have any thoughts, Bill?
Well, you're referencing the code and state and federal statutes. Where I see this happening is there are fairly rigorous requirements regarding the imposition of rates, and you might screw one up. And you have you have the diminution of property value statute, which gives the property owner significant claims against you and attorney's fees. And that statute expressly says you can waive. So the point being, I think it is the exception. It's probably going to occur when we do something wrong and we correct it by that way. Now, I think there could be a compassionate one as well. I agree that this would allow that if someone has experienced difficulties and they come to the manager, I think the manager has to decide. You will then receive, Mr. Mayor, you asked for a report, and I think that's what you're going to do, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but right now you give him $100,000 authority. I mean, so he's already got pretty broad authority. And so I don't see waiving these fees getting close to $100,000. And I think it does give flexibility, particularly when we have some liability as a town, or thinking of good citizenship. If truly one of your constituents has a significant problem and needs a waiver, and maybe the mayor, the manager could say, well, waive, but can you recoup it somehow down the line? All of which would be reported.
Other questions? We have good visibility on this with the quarterly report. So you'll be able to track the total effect of it. Other organizations I've been in have all had extensive tables of responsibility and limits and things like that. And it is very broad. So I think the real question in my mind is, does the after the fact reporting, which also saves money, by the way, because you're not coming to council or doing other things to get these things done, outweigh any potential fraud? And I think that's one of the things that allow me to my brother-in-law break and not charge him for his water. I think we'd see that in the report. So I think I'm happy with the way this is with the reporting. Other comments or questions from council? Cynthia's not looking at us, so I guess she's
No
okay.
question.
Public comment on this?
I have none.
Okay. I will make the motion if I can find it. Oh, move to approve ordinance number 2026-02, amending the town code Title III Administration, Chapter 31, Town Officers, subchapter Officers, Section 31.25 Manager.
Second.
Okay, I have no further comments. Dusty?
I have no comment.
Others? Comments?
No, I'm grateful that our residents read this material pretty thoroughly for them to catch that. And it's important for all of us to be concerned about accountability. And so we trust the staff. We hope to see any reports that you give us that might include this kind of information. But I'm comfortable going forward with this recommendation.
Okay, any others? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Say no. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Sherry, for all the hard work. You've made a real improvement there in some of the junk in our town code and cleaned it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council discussion possible approval of revisions to the town of Cave Creek employee leave policies, including the implementation of separate vacation leave and sick leave actuarial banks effective July 1, 2026, and the continuation of paid time off, PTO, for employees with 10 or more years of continuous service.
Mayor and Council, before you tonight is a request to approve a change in our employee leave policies. Carla Reese, our Administrative Services Director, will be presenting a PowerPoint presentation that has the details that's before you tonight. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Reese.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. See if I can get my slides moving. We'll move along here shortly. Or not. Hold on. There's always a little bit of a situation moving between computers here. So, okay. There's a lag in the system. We found it. So, as you may recall, a couple of years ago, you guys endured a market study for our compensation plan. With that, the consultant had asked that we look at benefits. So about 1.5 years ago, we enhanced the health, dental, vision benefits, employee assistance program, short-term disability, joined the trust, came at a savings to both the town and the employees for premiums. Next step is to look at our leave categories. So in evaluating our current PTO structure, we have a single bank of leave that employees accrue that are to be used for vacation and or sick leave. So what we wanted to do is evaluate the long-term sustainability and consistency of employee leave benefits. Looking at our market cities, we're an outlier in the PTO realm. We also wanted to improve alignment with the Arizona paid sick leave tracking and record-keeping requirements, provide a clearer distinction between vacation leave and protected sick leave usage, where FML and other alphabet soup is concerned. But again, we also wanted to support workforce wellness. Our PTO program did not allow for an employee who had to have a surgery, for example, to cover their entire 12-week FML period with pay. They would be at least 4 weeks without pay. Operational continuity we wanted to take a peek at, and transparent leave administration, being able to differentiate what types of leave are being used by the employees. And again, improving alignment with our neighboring jurisdictions. So the proposed leave structure does separate vacation leave and sick leave into 2 distinct leave banks. Vacation leave intended for that planned personal time, work-life balance. Sick leave for the medical related, it can be an appointment, can be scheduled for family care, illness, and other protected leave purposes. And then the new structure, if council were to approve it, would be effective with the new fiscal year. However, we do have a PTO provision that allows those with 10 years or more to remain in the PTO program, just to avoid a little bit of a impact to those who may be closer to retirement, so that they have a choice. But the provisions for them would not fully take effect until January 1st. There was a slight change to the PTO program, and employees in the past have been allowed to accumulate over the 320-hour cap as long as they used it prior to December. The new PTO minor revision will be that once they reach that 320-hour cap, they will no longer accrue leave. So what was happening is we'd have employees who would retire in December and be able to retire with 400 or 500 hours of PTO, even though our cap was 320. So that doesn't seem congruent with what the original intention of the program was. And then any employees hired after the implementation would automatically move into the vacation and sick leave program. The current PTO program is just, this gives you an overview of what the accrual is based on tenure. And then again, the maximum balance is 320 hours. So you can see at the 15+ year mark, employees are accruing 336 hours per year, but the cap is 320. So they obviously are a little bit stuck in that little continuum. Not a bad place to be when you're accumulating PTO, but that's where the provision for the 10 years and above came into play. We wanted to take that into account. But the vacation leave accruals are incremental and again, lower than the PTO, but then with combined sick leave, there's an advantage. The maximum balance would then be 2 times their annual accrual. So those with 15, 20, or 25 years do have the opportunity to accrue a higher cap of vacation leave if they don't use it. And then looking at the sick leave program, the accrual rate is 4 hours per pay period, 104 hours annually. So it's about 2.5 weeks. So a brand new employee would accrue 3 weeks of vacation, about 2.5 weeks of sick leave. Currently, they do get 4 weeks of PTO, but combined, they'll have 5.5 weeks of leave. We do have several occasions with employees who were fortunate enough to bring a new family member, have a child, but they could not take their entire 12-week parental leave, at least not in a paid status, because they didn't even have the opportunity to accrue that much leave. So the maximum sick leave balance is a 10-year balance of 1,040 hours. However, sick leave is only payable if the employee retires with at least 5 years of service and meeting all the ASRS retirement requirements. They would be eligible for a 50% payout of their unused sick leave at separation. If they leave for any other reason, there's no payout of sick leave, just the vacation bank. And then there has been some concern expressed that with a separate sick leave bank that employees might abuse the sick leave, so to speak. There are still attendance management practices. We can track unscheduled leave versus scheduled leave, especially in the sick leave category, because we also have to monitor that for FML compliance and a few other issues, but we also want to support accountability, maintaining compliance with our applicable laws and policies. So this is the comparison. The first 2 columns show the PTO annual accrual versus the PTO maximum cap. The next columns show the vacation leave, sick leave, the combined leave, and where the caps may be placed. Again, vacation leave would be payable, much like PTO, 100%. The sick leave cap is only on retirement and 50%. So again, I mentioned the option for longer-term employees who may not wish to change what they've endured or enjoyed their whole career. These employees are given a one-time irrevocable decision. They can choose whether to opt into the new vacation sick leave or remain in the slightly modified PTO system with that cap at 320 hours. And then some considerations for the employees. We do have an employee here who I'll see if he wants to address council. We did talk to the employees in a couple of different employee meetings. I've talked individually with employees. There's always concern with change. So employees currently using PTO, I have one who came to me, not here at this meeting, but he mentioned he uses all of his PTO every year for vacation purposes. But then that leaves him short if anything ever were to happen to him or a family member. And I tried to point that out. He thinks he's indestructible, which, many of us used to think that when we were younger. But they may need to adjust their leave planning habits. So there is a little bit of an adaptation that has to happen. The PTO option, we did offer that to reduce the impact on any long-term employees who may be concerned about that transition. The vacation leave balances continue to be payable upon separation, like I mentioned, subject to the policy limits. And the sick leave, I believe, promotes long-term health protection, not just for the individual employee, but by people not coming to work sick in order to save their entire PTO balance for the fun stuff. We have had instances with employees who came to work ill, then later tested positive for COVID and had to go home. And then the rest of us are like, oh no, are we sick too? And this is even the post-COVID world. So there's still those concerns that happen. And even just the general flu can, wipe out half your workforce if you're not careful. And then town leadership, we will continue to provide education, FAQs, transition guidance, especially to supervisors who may have concerns on leave usage. So some of the operation and fiscal considerations, we're looking at a potential reduction in future payout liabilities associated with combined PTO banks. Like I mentioned, people were over the maximum and cashing out in December before the transition to the January, wherever your time drops off. Separate leave banks may improve scheduling and workforce planning. We can hope. Time will only tell on that one. But the transition will require some payroll work, HRIS, and policy implementation updates. Clear communication and supervisor training will be essential. And then the policies remain subject to future review and legal compliance updates, not written in stone. The potential benefits, again, is improved compliance and tracking for Arizona paid sick leave requirements, encouraging the employees to preserve sick leave for legitimate health-related needs, provide clear financial forecasting of leave liabilities, more closely align with leave practices commonly used by Arizona public agencies. Again, like I said, we're an outlier with the PTO. Casa Grande was the only other PTO. There are a couple of communities that offer like a small PTO bank in combination with vacation and sick leave. Those were also an anomaly. I'm not sure if that was a legacy piece that carried forward for them. And then this is also to support the consistency between full-time and part-time employee leave administration. So again, Arizona paid sick leave does require sick leave for even your part-time employees. And right now we had no quote sick leave to offer them, but then we didn't necessarily want to give them a PTO bank that they could use for any purpose either. So this way we could remain compliant with Arizona Paid Sick Leave Act and have consistent treatment of all the employees. This does line up with a couple of our performance measures. Retention rate of regular full-time employees in the initial probationary period, we're hopeful. We've been losing quite a few employees lately, so those stats are coming at a future meeting. We also want to maintain turnover at or below the national average for state and local government. And we do have a couple of strategic priorities related to innovative and high-performing organizations that are related, including all these updates to human resource policies and procedures. So next steps are your review and policy discussion, and then we can move on from there. Questions?
Questions?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I think,
Should we?
oh, all right.
You can make a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Can I just see if Tucker wanted to address council?
Is there any public comment on this one?
No, I do not have any public comment.
No, doesn't look like we have any in the audience either. Okay, just wanted to make sure I give them an opportunity.
Okay, staff. Oh, that's a staff recommendation. Move to approve separate vacation leave and sick leave policies effective July 1, 2026. The continuation of paid time off, PTO, for eligible employees with 10 or more years of continuous service.
Second.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's a long one.
Shape's so
Subject
good.
to a one-time irrevocable election, revised accrual caps and administration provisions outlined in the policies, and authorization for town administration to implement the new policies and related administrative procedures necessary to carry out the approved policies.
Now a second.
Tom?
Yeah.
Is that your second?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I just wanted to say how fortunate we all are to have an exceptional, high-performing staff, and that it's been a long time since we've had professional policies that correlate with that. And I appreciate the work that you've done on this. And at the same time, I also have to say that I think our staff is lucky because these are great benefits for a small town. And we're fortunate that we can provide them and be comparable and competitive with other cities that try to recruit the same people.
Tom?
Yeah, and I echo what the vice mayor had to say. And, in the years that I've been here working with the staff has been one of the most pleasurable things that I could do. We sit up here and we make the decisions, but you guys make sure we made good decisions, and we truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I did want to mention that when we went out to evaluate policies, we went across the whole state of Arizona. All of the public sector, we looked at counties, we looked at school districts, we looked at cities and towns across the area. We looked at even the state of Arizona. Some of the employees who came from the private sector have differing opinions on some things, but at least I wanted to be consistent with other governmental bodies and just try to be fair to our employees. And we did the best we could in bringing this policy to you.
Their comments.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Sure. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Thank you. No, I just think it's a good improvement to better define the sick leave policy and to have that bridge to short-term disability for instances where that may be necessary for staff members. And having the choice for the staff with seniority of greater than 10 years shows the town's respect for their service and giving them that option. So on the whole, to me, it looks like a favorable policy to move forward.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
We can do it after.
Go on,
I had a
Tom.
quick question, I'm sorry. Do we still provide life insurance to town employees?
We do at 2 times their annual salary.
And is there a probationary period? Is it when they're hired?
It's when they're hired.
Something may increase.
We did.
Okay, is there any? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Okay, next and last on the agenda is presentation of Utility Department quarterly report.
Evening, Mayor and Council. It's been a while since we've actually done a utility report when we look back at the data set, so we're overdue. Apologize for that, considering the first several years I was here, I was in front of you quite often about this stuff, so we're gonna get you caught up what we're doing with utilities. Just showing the performance measures that we've been set, and we've talked about things like cost of production of our water and our wastewater services are things we're looking at, and then also looking at just the average consumption of our users, and then things like water losses. So we're just going to go through these performance measures in the subsequent slides, and I'll give you some highlights of some of the projects that we've got ongoing. For water production, we've been doing it on a fiscal year basis because it's really hard to do it in between. Although we're close to the end of this fiscal year, we can actually give you the 26 numbers once this year is closed out. But we did see a small decrease in the cost of running the services on the water side. We attribute that to the staff just being more efficient with running the plant. We've got a lot of good professional staff there. We've had some staff turnover, but the staff who are there are actually looking after that plant very well. We did see a drop also in the cost of the treated water for the Desert Hill system. That's because last year we were able to actually run the wells more efficiently and ran them more often. Well water is the cheapest water for the Desert Hill system. The Cave Creek transfer water is very expensive, so we were able to lower that cost because we were able to run the wells more. We actually benefited us on the water resource side. Cost of wastewater did jump up. That was because of staffing. We did add a staff in fiscal year 2025 to the group, the supervisor and 3 employees, where previously we only had 2, which has grown since I started when we only had 2 employees in wastewater. So that's really to help maintain the system. Although it's not a large system, it does take staff resources to manage that system. This one, it's good and bad. This is the average consumption by customers. You can see we do we're showing you 3 years worth of data. We dropped off the 22 data set. There was a slight decrease in the Cave Creek water customer accounts. The average customer total water consumption, annual consumption went down from 124,000 to 121,000. We believe that was partly to do with the metering upgrade project that occurred. And then when we got people onto the new My 360, we didn't see a similar corresponding drop in Desert Hills for the residential customers because we haven't been able to offer them the same AMI hourly reading data set that we have through the Cave Creek customers. We're going to be looking to add some collector sites out there that we do believe we'll be able to offer that, extend that system out to them. You can see some the non-residential, that's commercial, restaurants, everything that's lumped all together. And that has jumped around a little bit. And if you look back a couple of years in Desert Hills, you can see some fairly large numbers. We actually looked at that. If council remembers, we had an issue back in the end of calendar year 23 and into 24 with the polo field along Carefree Highway. That's about the time frame they were starting to grow a 3-acre polo field from grass seed with our water system. So we were able to get them off of our system and actually tie them off it, not to use our system anymore. There's also some work that was done with the Desert Mountain Middle School lower their water usage. One thing I'll bring forward is we're actually trying to work with a group called Matos Water Management. So one of the things, try to get these numbers down is we're trying to look at that. And that group is going to be looking at, especially our billing data sets. They think they can help us with our AMI metering data and help us review and evaluate and develop high impact water conservation strategies moving forward, which is going to be so critical as we start dealing with these shortages. Water losses very quickly. Cave Creek water is always a struggle for us because the way it gets counted for is we call this our revenue versus non-revenue. And we always have a large non-revenue portion of the water that goes to the Rancho Mignona Golf Course. That adds into this number specifically. And we're always struggling with that. So when you see that green line at the top, the total cap water, that's actually the total of the raw cap water and the backwash water that we get delivered to the town. We have to look at, and it's in accordance to how Arizona Department of Water Resources looks at the numbers. But it's really the transfers and the inefficiencies of the golf course lakes are one thing that it does. We listed at the bottom there leaks and other things in system flushing, but I'll show you in subsequent slides. It's not really a significant amount. And we struggle with that in Cave Creek just because the way the distribution system is laid out, there's a lot of long dead end lines. So we have to continually flush it to keep the water in compliance with water regulations. It's a struggle. But on total, in the last 12 months, we've only had to flush less than 1.5% of the water that we produce. So it's not a large amount. We're still looking for ways to improve that, but I just want to highlight that it's not a lot. The bar graphs you'll see below, the red is the flushing operations that we have to do, and that's to flush the system to keep it in compliance. The orange on the bottom is actually the losses associated with leaks. Again, our staff go out when they address a leak, they have to make an estimate, but they're pretty proactive about keeping up with that. And you can see the bar is fairly low. And if I showed you charts from years before, it was actually a lot higher. Our staff are really good, and we've given them the tools to go out and be proactive about addressing leaks more efficiently and quickly. You'll see that little bump up in October last year. That's when we actually had that pressure zone spike along Carefree Highway, and we actually had 3 main breaks occur in the same night. So that's what happened to that sort of jump up there. Looking at losses in Desert Hills, we've always been better in Desert Hills because the meters got changed out earlier, and it's a simpler system from the standpoint that it's really there's the few wells that bring water into it. There's the interconnect site with Cave Creek, and then they have good billing data sets there. There's a little anomaly in April where, again, typically we do not see the total of the water production, which is the Cave Creek water and the well water below the amount of water billed. So we actually have to look into there in the April numbers and why that happened. That's sort of an anomaly we caught in the data set, and we're questioning that, but we haven't had time to dive into it more detail with you. And Desert Hills by losses, you'll see this bar chart, and again, there's more orange on this, but less red. But in total, this is only represents 0.2 of the water production in our water that's sent to Desert Hills. We have to do some flushing in Desert Hills, a lot less in Cave Creek because it's actually a more looped system in reality. And we have some more leaks. In total, it's actually not that different. From a leak standpoint, we have a little more frequency out there. But these graphs look very different just because of the volume. The Cave Creek graphs, you notice we were actually going up to over 1 million gallons. This is a much tighter data set. But overall, less than 0.2 of the percent of our water that goes into Desert Hills is used for flushing or with breaks. So again, we're trying to be very proactive when breaks happen. Our staff get on things like service line leaks, especially main line leaks, as quick as we can. One thing council's asked us to look at is just septic systems. And what you're seeing here is a graphic that shows the green is actually our active collection system and some of the inactive lines. And we're trying to look at where we got the red dots are new septic repair requests. So when someone's come and had a septic system, they've come to us, they've asked to get a septic, go to Maricopa County to get their septic system repaired. They have to actually get a letter from us before the county will issue that, saying that they're not required to make a connection. And the blue is actually new construction. So we mapped this to look to see if there's any clustering. There was a thought that maybe there's a clustering around where we have the dry sewer areas. And there's a little bit down there, but I don't think enough to really show a definitive pattern. That we're seeing some failures down in the system, so you are getting a few more repairs around the clustering. This is a 12-month running average. Does that warrant us the moving forward with that project? It is in the capital program to actually energize those sewers and get them connected so that they're active. And if they're active, then when someone comes in for a septic repair, we'd have to say, no, we have an active line within 300 feet of a property line, and you'd have to connect to the sewer system. So it does feed itself together, but it is a very costly project to energize those and connect those dry sewer areas. I think the master plan estimated to get all of them in would be about $7-8 million worth of work. So it's gonna be hard for us to digest that. But I think in overall, since we only have 940 wastewater customers, that would be a good thing for the town to do. It's just when can we afford to do it? This next question. Talk about some larger capital projects. So the City of Phoenix Interconnect, it got mentioned earlier in the council meeting tonight. We are very close to completing. I was trying to get you some good photos to put on the slides. These are actually hot off the press just today, but the site is a busy beehive of activity. So every time I turned around, there was someone working. So I had to sort of sneak around and try and take some photos. We're getting very close. My understanding is City of Phoenix has started the functional testing on their booster station, which will feed to ours. They're doing a 30-day period, and that actually has started. So they're in their functional testing phase. We're getting very close to being able to do functional testing on this site and test it out. So we'll be testing out all the instrumentations. On the bottom right-hand side, that is actually the PLC, the program logic controller. That's where all the individual devices all come together, and that's what we have, the computer that we control through our SCADA system. It's all going to come together. So we're going to be doing the functional testing on that and then putting the program so we can control it remotely. The middle slide is the hydrodynamic tanks. That's actually nice features can be added to the system that will actually balance any surges that happen in the system. And then on the bottom left is the booster pumps. So we have 6 booster pumps feeding 2 different pressure zones, 3 that go into pressure zone 1, which is along Carefree Highway. Those are 600-gallon-minute pumps. And then we have 3 that feed zone 4, which is from Stagecoach Pass north into the town core. And we have 3 pumps there. So this is a unique site in that once we bring that City of Phoenix water into that reservoir, we can distribute it to directly into 2 pressure zones. And the interconnect site connection at the water treatment plant has now been completed. So we can send that water through the treatment plant and fill the Neary site in case we have to take the pipeline out of service or do work on the water treatment plant. So again, a major, huge improvement in the reliability of the town's overall water system. I think it's what put on here is the biggest change to the town's water system since the town bought the system and then did all the projects that were completed in 2008. And that's when the town expanded the water treatment plant, rebuilt the Neary site, rebuilt the Carroll Heights site, and rebuilt the Rockaway site. This is, with staff, we're trying to figure out, how best to manage this, but it is it's a huge improvement in reliability. And I can breathe a big sigh of relief when this is done.
John?
Yes.
Is there a semi-hard time period that you think that we're going to actually turn the water on and start filling this thing up for real?
I've been asked to get that date to everybody. I think right now with the functional testing occurring with Phoenix, and Phoenix actually has a couple of disconnects that they need to do along Carefree Highway, so we're trying to coordinate that. I think it's going to happen in July at this point. It'll probably take us a little bit more than 30 days at this point to get through our functional testing and get ready to accept that water into the site. And we also have to get Phoenix ready. And then there's a valve currently closed on Cave Creek Road just south of Carefree Highway between the 2 water systems before they're ready to open that up to us. This month, you'll see some activity in front of the site. The site fence is going on. We actually have to go into Cave Creek Road to actually break our 16-inch line and actually bring it in and out of the site. We're currently just bypasses the site. So that's a big project to get done this week. So it'll be in July, hopefully early July.
Well, that's very positive.
Yeah. Some other projects we've been talking about bringing on the wells back online, a few of the town's wells. So we actually are working on that. You're seeing there on the photo is actually the new well line that we brought underneath the site wall. The right well is on the treatment plant. It's behind the site wall. We extended a new line and we're still continuing to work on getting the well line tested out. Staff have been testing it and it's been breaking on us. So we've gone and done a couple of repairs on that line. So as we try to figure out the extents and limits, there's never been a complete set of drawings of that pipeline, which makes it a little frustrating. But we've been potholing, finding things. But now as the line hasn't been active since 2016, and there was a section in front of the Linda well site where it was galvanized. So while it was working back in 2016, now that we're trying to pressurize it, it keeps breaking on us. So we're trying to figure out how we can isolate that. But that was one well we thought we could bring online. But we're still continuing to work on that. We do have Black and Veatch helping us get the information together, because when you're specifying a pump and well motor, you want to know where you're pushing that water. So we've got some recommendations from Black and Veatch, which allows us to put a package out and start getting some bids on these. I really want to get at least the right well equipped as soon as we can and get that, because there actually already is a power circuit for it, and we have a pipe connecting to it, and get that online. Right now, our attempt is, because, and I'll talk at the end of the project, we're still dealing with Maricopa County on the operational permit for the water plant. So our thought is that, especially the right well, we think we might be able to tie into the water plant, but we want to get through this first permit modification with the county before we go back and start talking about introducing a new water source. But that will be our eventual goal. And then to bring those wells online, we can help support our irrigation demand needs. And then if we can, bring them into the plant itself as a supplement. We've talked about pressure zone 1 and 4-to-1 improvements. In effect, we're reversing the flow in pressure zone 4 and 1. Most of our water comes through our Neary site in the town core. That gets boosted to pressure zone 7. It's immediately cut through a pressure reducing valve at that site, feeds pressure zone 4. Then it gets cut to by other pressure reducing valves that feed 1. We're going to be actually feeding it in pressure zone 1 and being able to boost that up. So we're looking at the connectivity of the distribution system to that 16-inch main. To make sure that we can feed into the distribution system the best. We've got some areas that along the boundary that we want to actually adjust some properties to actually bring them into pressure zone 4 to raise their pressures up a little bit. So we got several projects we're moving ahead with all at the same time, including the pressure reducing valve in the street. We actually want to put a mission system onto it so we can monitor flows between the system. So a lot of stuff's in the capital program, and we're just trying to get it all wrapped up. It'll probably run into the startup of the plant, and then the new site, and then the other systems we need to do. We do have other 2 booster site improvements that we're trying to get ready to get bid. The packages are all ready. The 38th Street booster station, we're upgrading that because it's right now a single booster. So we're upgrading that to a dual booster site, and the ability to expand it to add fire protection. And the Zone 9 booster station, which is actually the one that's tied, and we actually have escrow money in place from a developer to actually help us provide fire protection to our pressure zone 9. So those are ready. They're just on my desk. I just got to get the package done and get them actually advertised so we can get the bids in on those. We did have a project in Desert Hills on the 3rd Avenue Joy Ranch Reservoir site. The package is ready to go. Because of the ongoing invitation for bidder process, I'm sort of hesitant to release that right now. But we'll have to make a decision here soon, because by the time we get it bid, we sort of have to give a window of time frame for the contractor to get in and actually take that site offline. That is going into that reservoir, doing some site work. So that site will probably be offline for about 2 months. Best to do that during the winter time. So we're sort of closing in on a window to actually get that bid, or whether we defer it 1 more year and start that process. Wastewater, we actually did we have 3 lift stations. So we actually now completed work just last week on our Chipperosa lift station. That's the one that feeds the Rancho Minana subdivision. Like our other 2 sites, we've now have a bypass pump connection, which we never had at that site. So if there's a catastrophic failure, we can actually bypass the site. And you can see in the lower left picture, those were the bypass pumps that were used during the construction. We actually did the bypass in the fall, which gave us the ability to put the pumps out there and actually bypass that to allow us to get into the wet well itself and do all the work. We recoated the wet well. That's dates back to the original sewer system, so the 1970s. So it had some pretty good concrete deterioration. We had to go in there and clean it all off and put an epoxy coating on it. It doesn't look nice and smooth because the surface was not nice and smooth. They had to do a lot of mortar back into that, but it's very well protected. Did not have an epoxy coating into it. And one thing we did do is the valving inside that site was very tricky for the staff, because the isolation valves and the check valves were actually inside the wet well on the vertical legs of the pump. So those are now moved outside. And is the lower right photo, you'll see that second vault behind it. That's actually where all our valving is. So it's similar to actually our other 2 lift stations, the Stagecoach and Rancho Minana lift station, where we isolate those functions. So staff, if they need to isolate a pump, they can go in above ground and not have to do an entry. So it's added a lot to the safety of that site and just overall reliability of that site. And there is a porta potty in the back of the picture. That's because the contractor had it during construction. So that is not part of our site there. So bring that forward.
Part of your system?
No, it's not part of the system. It's construction. Getting off the press. The wastewater, we've been doing some stuff with force main cleaning. We did something unique where we had an issue last year with the Rancho Minana force main where we were fighting 2 issues at the same time, a pump performance degradation, and then we noted that there was actually a blockage in the force main. We were able to clear some of it out with just doing water flushing. That got us into thinking about pigging of the line, mechanical pigging. We were very concerned about a mechanical pig getting stuck in that line. So we actually selected to use ice pigging. It's you create an ice slurry, and in the bottom middle picture, you see the device that's there. They actually they work over 24 hours, create an ice slurry, and then they said they can make it as thick as you want. Think of a slushy, but and you can see the material on the bottom right there that comes out of it. So they set the consistency they want. They eject that into our force mains, and then we push it with our pumps through the system. What we saw was actually a pretty significant improvement in the Rancho Minana force main. Pressures dropped and flows jumped up on the force on the pumps. So very successful. We did it all through all three force mains. We had an issue with the Stagecoach force main. We didn't know it at the time because we actually did an inspection a few years ago on that force main. And something seemed really odd. Not too many weeks after we did this cleaning, we had a complete blockage of that force main. We were lucky in that we found that what it was is someone had crossed, and we actually have to expose it. So I've got a contractor working on that. Another utility has crossed the force main and pinched it and caused an obstruction. At the bottom right picture, you'll see there, that's the rock that we actually pulled out of we didn't pull it out, it actually popped out the force main. So there was a rock in that force main. If it's a 4-inch diameter, this rock was almost 4-inch in diameter, and it got lodged sideways. Staff were able to, through a series of flushing of the line, got that rock to turn itself and get pushed out. We didn't even know it was there because we couldn't get into the line because it's blocked. This is 3 feet from the end of the force main that the impediment is. And what we were also trying to do at the same time is we were trying to do, and I think I mentioned in the council, the inspection balls. And right next to that rock is actually an 1.5-inch diameter, a smart inspection ball that we could drop in the force main. We're trying to get data about the force mains to come back, bends, pressures, where air pockets are. We put them into the Stagecoach lift station. They didn't come out the other end. We were wondering what happened to them. They were stuck behind the rock. So until the rock moved out, then all of a sudden the 2 inspection balls came out. We were able to get one of them out. The other one went into our Vactor system.
Do we know the utility did this?
No, we're hopeful in the next week or two I'll have it exposed. We've called for a blue stake. No one's claimed it, and we're going to have to dig down and expose it and then figure out what it is. They actually crossed it top and bottom, so they pinched the 4-inch force main top and bottom. So we were lucky that this rock came out, and we were lucky it was so close to the end. Because
you're accumulating your expenses, so our lawyers have some work to do.
Yeah. Very disconcerting because we were in that line not too many years ago and actually cleaned out the last 300 feet. It looked perfectly new. So it's been in the last 3 years that someone crossed it. It looks like a directional bore. We're just not sure why because it's going transverse across Carefree Road at that point, and there's no evidence of anybody being up there. So we got to expose it and figure out what it is. And I'll be in there with a sawzall cutting it off and gladly taking it out. But the test balls worked out very well. We got when the one ball came out, it had been sitting in there. They were able to get data off of it, and we actually got a report on that. So they actually pointed out a few things that for us to watch for. The overall force main is in good health. There's some air pockets that we didn't know about, so it's things that we can watch on. We also tried running the inspection ball in the Rancho Minana force main, and it finally, after 2 months, finally came out at the headworks. So it got stuck somehow in the force main. We couldn't figure out. We think it might have been stuck in one of the cleanouts. And finally, there was a little bit of the seal broke on it, and it dropped out enough that it came out at the bottom end. So the staff found it on the bar screens at the headworks just 2 days ago. So they just handed it to me today. So I'm not sure if I should thank my staff for handing me that to me too. But so that's unsuccessful, but we do think we can get the Chipperosa one done. Now we're actually feeling better about Chipperosa because our first thought was what happened with Stagecoach. So a lot going on the wastewater. Other things in wastewater is we have manhole rehabilitation. So I'll apologize in advance. We're going to be working on the manholes in Carefree Highway east or west of Cave Creek Road, starting at the intersection. The first 2 manholes at the intersection, we did some work when the sewer collapsed a couple of years ago. We're working our way from that point going west towards the plant. So there's a total of 17 manholes to work on. We're going to start and go as far as we can. The contractor's going to work fairly quickly, including some night work because some of the manholes are at intersections that we have to do night work on. But we're largely in the curb lane, but you'll see traffic control along the curb lane. It won't look like much activity because there'll be someone in a manhole doing some work. So we actually have to repair the epoxy linings in the base channels. And there's going to be some new concrete adjustment collars being placed along our way. But our hope is to get through this in the next through the fall. To get those done. When the food bank construction was going on, they had their closure in Carefree Highway. We took advantage of that. Actually, we got 3 manholes repaired there, including the one in front of the plant rebuilt while we were doing that. So now we're just completing the gap. So while those were only built in 2010, we're seeing some significant deterioration. And while they were epoxy lined, the epoxy lining is peeling off. So we're going back in to get these repaired. So it's just ongoing maintenance of our collection system. The collection repairs itself, we actually are working with a contractor, Hunter Construction. They have a job order contract. We've identified 3 locations. We're trying to, and they're going to do some cleaning, and we're really going to focus this on getting a few things done, including just some what's called CIPP, cured in place liners, to put in some areas. Stagecoach Pass Estates, about a third of that development is ductile iron lined pipe or ductile iron sewer lines, and the interior coatings is starting to come apart. So we actually need to line through those. So that work will be ongoing here. That'll be less invasive for everybody. And then another project, switching over to water side, is actually our annual fire hydrant maintenance. That's not part of our capital program. We pay for that with our annual operating budgets, split between Desert Hills and Cave Creek. So we have 562 hydrants in our system. We identified 76 with needed repairs. And the repairs could be as minor as they sometimes recommend that we do a 6-inch adjustment on the hydrant. So they'll note that, but then sometimes we can just go around and clear the dirt around it. There's supposed to be enough clearance so that the fire department can put on their wrench and spin it freely. So sometimes it's just clearing the area. So we're working through that. That contractor should be starting. They might have time to get going this week, if not next Monday, on 17 of the most critical hydrants that are marked out of service. I'm surprised no one's mentioned it to me, but there's the one hydrant by our fire station on the west side of the road that we got a bag on it. That's out of service. So that will be repaired, and we'll get those back in service and continue to work on the maintaining our system, making sure those critical assets are repaired and functional. Development projects, we got a lot that we're working on. It still takes a lot of our time to get involved with it. And then a lot of our time is actually just trying to figure out, when someone comes to us, is, what is a utility system? I used the analogy, I think I mentioned it before. There's the new buildings going across from town, across from Town Hall on the east side of Cave Creek Road. We couldn't find the line until we got it dug up. So, and it was a 6-inch line where all the mapping dating back through the 70s showed it as an 8-inch line. So some of the unknowns that we have to deal with in the system still. So it takes a lot of time to sort through this, and we try to be as proactive as we can, knowing that there's issues out there. So if we can find the stuff early on in the development phase, we can communicate that clearly to developers, and we can get stuff built. Casper Hill is a good idea. That development was 5 lots, but we're actually having them, as part of their improvements, actually complete a water line gap on Hidden Rock Road. So that'll actually create a nice loop in our water system, where currently we have 2 dead end lines. They'll also be bringing a sewer down the hill that will actually cross the adjacent property too. Cahaba Springs was mentioned tonight. We've been working with them. The development agreement's been sorted out, and now we're working on their design of their booster pump stations. A neat one just comes to our attention. We're dealing with the Desert Hills Brewery. While it's under construction, it's in the Tractor Supply development south of us. It should be named Cave Creek Brewery, but this Desert Hills Brewery. They're actually trying to work with their pre-treatment device down there. So brewing actually has an issue that the wort in the brewing actually has a lot of biological demand, a lot of sugars. It doesn't get caught in typical grease interceptor. Plus they can have a large pH adjustments. That facility is so close to our plant, we're very concerned about it. So they came forward with a design, and now they want to deal with us or question with us and work with us to make sure that what they build is actually what we need to protect our sewer system. So it's very proactive. I appreciate that.
So I don't see anything about the other bar over here by Local Johnny's and the old gas company mine shaft building. Where are we at with that?
Well, we've worked with them. They've come forward with it. They're re-equipping that building. From a water standpoint, they already had a meter, so they kept that meter active. And then from a sewer system, they're initially going to not design it with a kitchen. So I've talked to them about it. And then when they come in later, so they're actually going to put a sewer manhole, inspection manhole on that, so we can monitor that. I've already talked to the owner. So when he equips it, he's supposed to be bringing in a modular kitchen, we're told. So day one, it's just going to be, I believe, a wine bar with just some nibblies or something is what he said. But then the second phase is he'll add a kitchen to it. So yeah, they're renovating that, and we've talked to them. We haven't talked to them probably like 9 months. I know they're in the demo phase right now, and reconstruction phase.
I actually got a tour of that building last Sunday, and they told me they're going to do food trucks and no food. That's exactly what they said.
Yeah, initially, we questioned that because we saw that and we were concerned that, in any food preparation is potential for leading into grease and fats, oils and grease getting into the collection system. We're very concerned about that, but they came forward. The owner was honest with me and said, no, we don't intend to prep it. Our second phase is they'd bring in a modular kitchen and we'll work with them at that phase. So. Water resources, something we've been watching for a long time and very closely. So we expect to hear about the water reductions to the Colorado River. We call it post 2027. January 2027, there should be new rules on how the river is distributed. We still don't know what those numbers are. We're still waiting for the Bureau of Reclamation to announce those. We've been planning around a 20 to 25% cut. I know there are some numbers that went out as high as 70% that were thrown out. We believe some of that came from the environmental assessment report that the Bureau of Reclamation had done. Everybody we've talked to says, including the Central Arizona Project, is saying plan for more 20, 25%. So we're hopeful for that. We're planning for the worst case scenario if it goes higher than that, but that's what our planning numbers are right now. We've been developing short, mid, and long-term strategies at the same time. One of the main ones is a bridge solution to get us access to our water storage credits. The town was lucky enough to start recharging and have about 3,000 acre feet in stored credits. The problem is that they're in recharge facilities that we don't have access to. So we're actually working with some agencies to get access to it. And hopefully in the next 2 weeks, you'll be actually seeing the first of those two agreements come forward for you to execute. And that will give us access to some of our credits to help us bridge. So what effectively those agencies who can recover that water for us will actually use their wells to recover our storage credits. We'll pay them to operate their well fields, and they'll allow a proportional share of their CAP water to come by, not take it off the canal, and allow it to come to our structure that we can take it out and either have Phoenix or ourselves treat it. So we do think that's a great thing for us to do to get us through the next few years while we figure out what the next long-term solution is. See if we can bring the wells online. We're going to have to do something with those wells, either help meet our irrigation demands or see if we can get them into the treatment plant. As we work on long-term solutions, we are still part of the Bartlett Dam project. That's the raising of the Bartlett Dam on the Verde River, which is part of the Salt River project. That project is just slowly working its way through its environmental impact assessment. It probably won't see anything out of that towards the end of next year. So it's in a holding pattern right now while it goes through that process. Sadly, the costs continue to rise, but they sort of have parked everything at this point, and we're just in a hold. We did do in the spring an evaluation of the Harquahala Valley water. The town looked to purchase 500 acre feet of water from one of the projects out in Harquahala Valley. And we did that evaluation, and at the time we elected our recommendation to staff was not to move forward because there's a lot of uncertainties, including when that water would be available. But you'll hear more about that because there's other projects in that Harquahala Basin that are moving forward with. So it's something for us to still consider. And then when we did that evaluation, we recommended that the town should watch that one. So we are continuing to watch that one. And I'll bring forward that on the 17th, we're going to have a water forum. It's been a while since January that Brad Hill and I discussed something, but we're going to have a water forum to help answer questions. It seems like when there's a lot of confusion out there, we don't have all the answers. We're still waiting for the Bureau of Reclamation to actually make their determination. So we don't know what we're trying to cut to. I believe we're going to have someone from the Central Arizona Project there to talk. I believe we were trying to get someone from Arizona Department of Water Resources, so we may still be able to get someone. So we're trying to make it into a good information forum, knowing that the Bureau of Reclamation, by the time of that forum, will not have made their announcement. But we want to let citizens know what we are doing and make sure that's out there.
Sean, has anyone dropped out of the Bartlett Dam project since the last update?
Not the Bartlett Dam per se, but there's been a lot of talk because at this point, everybody's just participating at the design level. So it's fairly not that costly to build in. What's going to happen is when the environmental impact assessment is completed and they go to federal government and go to funding, that's when it's the next phase will be, now you have to come up with the construction dollars. And that's when there's a lot more zeros associated with it. So I anticipate that from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of people who are very concerned about the cost and can they afford it and the reliability of it.
What is the cost for us?
Our cost was going to be, I know you caught me in spot. I think I calculated the last number I got was about $40,000 per reliable acre foot of water. So it's about 268 acre feet is going to cost about $40,000 per acre foot.
40,000 versus Harquahala was 22.5.
Yeah, but with Harquahala, we didn't know the ongoing costs and when that water be available. So yeah, it's looking backwards. It's, I wish we could afford it all, but we can't. And that's some of the decisions I'm hearing other agencies are having to make. Where do you place your dollars? You know, you're hearing.
I heard the other day that the SCIF project has lost some people.
Yeah, the SCIF project is the interconnect between the Central Arizona project and SRP. So currently, you can only do one direction. So you can get CAP water can be delivered to the SRP canal system. It does not go the other direction. So the SCIF project was to do the reverse. I heard that Scottsdale had dropped out of it. They didn't see the benefit of that. And then I was actually talking to Carefree, Nick, who was over there, and he's thinking they might drop out of it too, because they get most of their supplies through delivered through Carefree or through Scottsdale. So there are as the projects pan out, and people have to realize, in the SCIF project, the benefit to those agencies, you would have to do is you have to make an exchange agreement with someone downstream of that to do exchange to get benefit of it. The town looked at that project, and we thought that because of our relationship with Phoenix, and we had a conversation with Phoenix saying, if we are able to get Salt River project water, would they treat and deliver it to us similar to how they treat and deliver the CAP supplies? And they said they would. So it didn't make sense for us to participate in another project and have additional costs. So we do have an out, which is very good with our relationship with Phoenix, to leverage that to get them to treat, while they're treating our CAP supplies, they're willing to extend that to SRP if we can get SRP water, which is a nice bonus for us.
Including my professional career, I don't think I've ever seen two organizations or one organization help another as much as Phoenix has helped us. It's absolutely off the chart.
Yeah, I can't say
It's
enough.
wonderful.
Yeah. Great people, great relationship. And the fact that they're willing to work with us is just amazing for the town. So again, June 17th, water forum. So metering, the AMI system is doing great. We're getting really great information. I'm hopeful we can keep accelerating that and get more customers onto that system as we put more collector sites up. We've got 443 customers as of today. Sadly, just under 10%, but we're still getting everybody who gets into that. I've heard nothing but glowing information and what we can get from it. So again, if you're listening tonight, if the My 360 is your application that allows you to get access to your metering data, even if you don't have an advanced meter that gives you hourly data, you'll still get your data or your data quicker than we can get it out on our bills to you. So I think it's still worth everybody signing up. And as we can update the meters and pick them up with collector sites, you'll actually get more data from it. So I'd recommend everybody in the town, all 4,500 of our customers actually sign up for that system. So
that system doesn't do any good if it's only 443. We've got to get that number higher. That has got to be a priority. I don't know how. I mean, incentives, disincentives. You can't spend that much money and have only 25% of your customers on it.
Well, and typical of that, the data set has actually been very useful for us as staff to actually to find leaks very quickly and be able to notify customers. We do it basically weekly, and we're going to bring another outside consultant in to help us really look at how we can look at that data set. And there's some stuff like
you're using it to watch the customers, but the customers aren't using these 443. These are customers who are not using it, who are using it.
Who are signed up for the
same
system.
thing.
Yeah. And it comes down to, it's information fatigue too. If someone sets their alarms, are they really going to be watching it? We're hopeful they do. And there's some really good people, and I'll give credit to Ryan Hill, who's done a great job of every time he gets someone into the system and gets them educated in how to use the system. I'm not sure, Councilmember McGuire, if you got your set up on the system yet. I know you had some issues with it. So yeah, I'd like to get more rollout, but when I've talked to other agencies, there's the participation rate isn't always the best. So we're hopeful. 10% is not too bad. I actually want to get some numbers from Scottsdale has an AMI system, and so does Surprise. I want to get their final numbers and where they're at, how many people are participating in their systems, and actually using the data set. You get a lot of people that get signed up and they set their parameters, but if they don't get alerts, or they sort of get numb to them too. So we got to be careful of that. But the data that we're getting overall and the information that we're getting about our customers and being able to work with our customers and identify leaks more quickly is just immense. Would not go backwards from an AMI system. So We are working, and I mentioned this for a while, and it's coming to fruition. We understand the information, all the data will be here to the Mount Gillen site, which we have an IGA in place with the city of Phoenix, that radio tower site at 7th Avenue at the base of the mountain there, or on top of the mountain in their park. We have an IGA to place our collector site up there. So the vendor should have the all the equipment to us next week. So we're working with them. I actually just spoke to Phoenix about getting access to the site and what we have to do to get up there. So. We talked about compliance and we're trying to stay in compliance. So one of the things we've been working on for a while now is our lead service line inventory. Going through the data set, and a lot of agencies have struggled with this, trying to figure it out. We were able to cull it down to, we had to do physical and investigations, 488 customers in Cave Creek Water and 31 in Desert Hills. Desert Hills, our staff took that on. What it was is actually going out to those meters and checking the customer side service. That's what the mandate is. Even though the customer side is considered, we consider it a private service line, per the EPA mandate to look at lead service lines, they put the burden on the utility providers to verify there was not lead in those service lines. So right now in Desert Hills, it looks like everything's good. Of the 488 in Cave Creek, we're looking at the final data set. It looks like there might be 5 that have an unknown material that we might have to investigate and maybe invest in replacing ourselves from the meter to the property and be done with it. There's a lot of agencies who are spending a lot more money and doing a lot more service lines, private service line connections. But right now it looks like we might only have to do 5.
Do we pay for that, or does the customer?
Per the EPA, we pay for it as a provider. Yeah, I love that. But we're a lot better off than a lot of jurisdictions. So I'll take that as a win. The water treatment plant permit, I mentioned that. So when the town purchased the Paul membrane units, they integrated those into the plant process. And back in the end of 2019, it was considered a pilot study. That permit expired, and we've been going back and forth with Maricopa County. We're now on our 3rd manager overseeing the water and wastewater treatment section. The application is in with them. They've sent some comments back to us, so we're trying to wrap this one up. You know, the Paul membranes are providing the best quality treated water for the town system, so we want to utilize those and continue to utilize them. The argument seems to be over, you know, they're in trailer units, so they're more modular, and what improvements we need to make to the site. So we're hopeful we'll get some clarification on that. We do have money in the capital program to do some piping modifications and consolidation of things like chemical storage at the site. We just don't want to know. We want to know what they want as parameters and set us to, so we can continue to reduce that and make that part of the plant. The plant doesn't, especially with the City of Phoenix Interconnect, we really don't need to expand that plant for a while. So it really looks at how long will those trailers last and when we need to do the next upgrade to that plant overall. And hopefully we can defer that out as far as we can, because it's going to be a big cost to the town. We're making conversation last week was actually pretty good because they were asking technical questions of us, which means they're reviewing our application. We do on the wastewater side, we actually have we're doing new testing standards on our wastewater system, so we're being required to do 12 months study. The wastewater system has what's called an aquifer protection permit, so that, you know, we don't pollute the aquifer. So we're started a 12-month process to do some new constituents that we have to monitor for. That then once they see our results, they'll actually come back and then set new parameters where our permit needs to be. So we're just in that process right now. So we're starting to gather the information and take the tests that we need. So we think by next year we'll have to get probably get a modification of our aquifer protection permit. I don't think it'll modify the plant process at all. But you know, that's my best guess at this point. We also have to do a EPA mandated risk and resilience assessment for the water systems. It's actually required every 5 years, so we're doing an update, and that report is due the end of June. So we have the draft report for we had brought in outside consultants on that. So they looked at where we could potentially have threats to the system. We actually did site tours. They looked at our water sites, and then they came back with recommendations on between physical access, process threats, and then even things like cybersecurity are wrapped into that report. So it'll give us a good checklist of things that we should be working towards to improve. But it's required by the EPA, so we have, you know, less than 30 days to wrap this up. But we have some good draft reports. So with that, I can answer any questions. I know I'm looking over side-eye to Grady because he keeps saying, hold us to 15 minutes, but there's so much stuff that we're doing here. So I apologize for that. And I'll give kudos to my staff. We had some staff changeovers, but I'll give credit to so much work that my staff does. So answer any questions you have.
Questions?
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Cynthia.
Thank you. Sean, just a question about the fire hydrant review. Are we flush? Do we have enough fire hydrants distributed throughout the system for protection for the community?
How do I answer that? In fact, our fire hydrant is, our fire hydrant program is to maintain the devices we have, not to add and do infill hydrants. There's been discussion about adding that into it. Right now, what I'm talking about is just maintenance of the units that are in the system that either the Cave Creek water system put in, and a lot of those hydrants are actually put in by private developers as they develop the system. And we just want to make sure that the ones that are in are maintained properly. We've done a couple of infill hydrants. Like a good example was the one on the top of Spur Cross Road where we have our 12-inch water line. That allowed us to enhance the flushing up there and actually give access to that for in fire season, that they can actually run to that fire hydrant and use tanker trucks and fill up for wildfire up there. But we haven't been that progressive in doing infill fire hydrants. It's just, it takes a lot to maintain the hydrants that we do have. We have been talking about doing something, especially in the town core, the commercial core, of looking at where we might need to place some fire hydrants to better allow for fire protection services. But right now, the program I talked about was just really the maintaining of the existing units that we do have.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment. Well, I don't think we have any. So, okay, any other last questions? Last chance.
Let us know if you need anything for the water forum. Looking
Cool,
forward
yeah.
to that.
Okay,
Getting
appreciate that.
confirmation from our speakers. I thought that they've.
Yeah, Bo's been
already
coordinating a lot of that. I know we've got one speaker confirmed, and she they called the CIP person called me yesterday, so I got to call her back.
Okay, good, good.
So.
Thank you, Sean. There's just a heck of a lot going on. It's just, I mean, I see all these, the county and the EPA and lead checks and all the hassles with this. And you're balancing a lot of balls. I want to say I appreciate, and I hope I can speak for the whole council. I think and the whole town.
Absolutely.
In recognizing your service and what you've done for the water company. And thank you very much. And the people in your department too.
In fact, you
That's a good
mentioned
stuff.
at a public meeting last week by Kathleen's husband, Abraham, because he attended the Utility Advisory Committee meeting, and he could not believe how brilliant you were. Essentially, is what he said. That we could never,
Must have been an off.
we could never survive without you, is essentially what he said. And we agreed.
No. Again, I'll give credit to staff.
Well, of
We've got a
course,
really
you
great
have
staff
to.
here that are really committed and are, making sure everything. So I appreciate the comments. I take them, but I will pass them along to my staff too, because they're the ones out in the field doing the work. So they're making sure the system runs properly for everybody.
Thank you, Sean. That completes our agenda. Is there any objection to adjourning?
So moved.
Seeing none, meeting adjourned. Bye, Cynthia.